I regard the work of return as to entailing primarily three things. Number one is returning to your truth. Number two is returning to your voice. And number three is returning to your power. To your truth, to your voice, to your power. And the best opportunity we have to get in touch with those sometimes concealed aspects is when we are actually truly coming from a place of stillness. Because there is a voice, there is a truth, there is power that are lying hidden, lying concealed, lying obscured by the activity, by the running. So for you this morning, if you were to pay attention to this moment, I'm going to leave it quiet for 2 minutes. Just find 3 things that are true. Now, does it mean you write 3 things? No, you will write several things. Just write what comes. Write what comes. Just keep writing. There's a pivotal truth that is going to emerge, which becomes essentially a seed for you this morning. I don't know what it is. Maybe you don't know what it is until you allow it to come out. 90 minutes of just you and the paper, starting now. It's time for you to just look through what came up for you. Just look through what came up for you. This is not something that goes anywhere public, ever. Some of what you are dealing with are seeds that have such power that just one of those lines can actually be the hinge point for the season you are in. This one doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go on WhatsApp status, not even indirectly. This is a seed that is in the ground. We don't know which of these seeds will germinate. I don't know how else I could say that. This is sacred work. the trees we see around us, if somebody had taken the seed that germinated that tree out to the ground, out of the ground to show people, like, look at this, in future it's gonna be a tree. That seed, by the time it goes back to the ground, it's dead. So I don't know where your seed is. And I don't know whether your seed will come out today or it's going to come out on Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday. This week, your task is listening. You are going to layer intentional stillness with intentional listening. You practice until you find your own rhythm of stillness, but don't wait until it's perfect. Let's start with 5 minutes. You'll just sit for 5 minutes, and then from there you spend 2 to 3 minutes just listening to what comes. Our task is to return to our truth, to our voice, and to our power. You cannot return loudly. You can only return quietly. There is a reason why the Bible says, be still and know. Be still and know. And this is, it's not even a metaphorical, it is literally be still and know. One of the most transformative practices in my life was stillness. And I didn't really know what stillness means until it became a physical sensation. Stillness, you do something with your body when you wake up. Stretch, find some kind of movement to break the rhythm you are in, the energy status you are in when you woke up. And then you draw a line. You draw a line with stillness. And then you listen for what comes. And the more I do this, the more there's almost like a wall that develops, so that yesterday continues to shout, but yesterday doesn't have to be the only voice I hear. If I continue running in the same energy, then yesterday's voice is the loudest. Creating room to intentionally return to my voice, to my truth, and to my power. And this is where some of the deepest learning that has been coming up during the 5-day return challenge, during the daily reset, during return 90 shows up. Because the deepest layers of learning, they are not loud. They are very quiet, but they are real. You can't put a finger on it, but it is as real as anything. It's like being, I went to, there's a really nice bakery that I like nearby, a Japanese bakery. And I went in to buy bread. And then when I came out, went in, bought bread, came out, got into the car, and went straight to the Ecolab. I walk in and I meet one of my colleagues, and they're like, did you have bread on you? I did not have the bread. The bread was in the car. But my jacket had picked the smell from the bakery. The smell you're picking from Return 90, the smell you're picking from the daily reset, the smell you're picking from the 5-day return challenge is real. And parts of you is so in touch with it, but that the processing that happens is almost subconscious. When I started training in cardiology, one of the most powerful things that is called Dr. Sivaram, one of my mentors, told me is that the biggest danger you run into is to experience learning without registering the learning. Experience the learning without registering the learning. And so he made me to sit down at the end of every week and write down every case I came across. Write down every case you came across. Don't look for what you learned. Just remember what you came across. Because truth is quiet. Your real voice is very quiet. And your real power sometimes is invisible. The people around you know that you are insightful, that you are original, that you are confident, that you are decisive, that you are influential, but sometimes you don't see it. In fact, the environment knows so much about you, but sometimes you don't see it. Why? Because what you are listening, the loudest voice is not always the voice of truth. Sometimes it's the voice of tradition, the voice of conditioning, the voice of your upbringing, the voice of memories from the past. Every single time I have an assignment, some teacher's voice will show up from the past. And especially those of you who have read any of my books, there's a teacher I used to call Mr. Terror. I can now say that his voice is no longer there, but his voice could always show up. When I feel like I'm about to fail, almost his voice shows up. Let's look through what came up for you. I had done this exercise, this particular process when I got here. When I got here and Gladys was on, I told her, I need to get some things in order because I needed to make sure I go through this before I share it with you. And I look at what came up and yeah, I think sometimes we are closer to truly impactful truths than we realize. And look at what came up for you. There will be 2 or 3 things that really stick out to you. Can you mark those 3? Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, maybe it's just 1. I don't know. Just look at what came up for you. Can you mark those? Let's just do a very gentle probing with the word why. Just the word why. Don't answer the question. Just look at whatever came up and just ask yourself the question, why? Maybe just say it loudly. Hopefully you are in a place where you can say it quietly. You don't have to shout it. Just look at it and ask why. And see what comes up. As you look at it, I want you to think, where does, just look at the first one of whichever 3 you have. Where does this relate to? Does it relate to one of your needs? Is it your need for certainty? Your need for variety? Is it your need for love and connection? Your need for significance? Your need for growth? Your need for contribution? Is it to one of the needs? Or is it to more than one need at the same time? And also in terms of your layers, where does this relate to? Is it to your behavior, to your capability, to your beliefs, or to your identity? You would see that I left the environment out and I left the core self out. Let's try and search. Just pick one of them. Which need or needs, sometimes it will touch on more than one need. In fact, some of the most impactful insights will cut across more than one need. Is it certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth or contribution? In terms of your layers, living out environment and your core self. Is it behavior, capabilities, beliefs, or your identity? In other words, what the insights, and you could look at each of the 3 or whichever is the strongest for you. In other words, is it impacting how you show up? which is behavior? Is it impacting what you can do, what you believe you can do, which is your capabilities? Is it impacting the permissions and limitations? Because beliefs are either permissions or limitations. Your belief, whatever the belief is, it will be a permission or a limitation. So is it permitting you or limiting you, even from what you can allow yourself to do or allow yourself to even imagine yourself doing? Or is it relating to your identity, who you think you are? Can I attach an I am to the insight that came up? If that is the case, that comes from the level of identity. The work of return, we are seeking the pathway back to the core self, and the journey that you travel across multiple areas of your life will be different. Sometimes you have to travel from behavior to capability to beliefs to identity before you go back to the core self. In some areas, maybe the block is at the level of beliefs, so you just need to go from beliefs to identity to core self. Each of these areas, and the need that is the strongest with regards to what came up for you, the need has to be clear. Because the need underneath, it's either you are medicating the need with a certain behavior, with a certain capability, with a certain belief, or you are meeting the need. And when we can figure out what the need is, we find the pathway back to your true voice. Because your true voice will meet the need. The false, the counterfeit voice will medicate the need. When we medicate, we don't cure. We medicate to control. Just temporarily soothe. We don't satisfy, it just soothes. I'm going to just ask a couple of you. I don't want the actual insight. I want to see where you figure out. Just pick one of them. Pick the one that resonates the most. Where does it point in terms of what need, what layer does it point toward? I'm going to just ask some of you randomly. Starting with Lydia and then Frida. I'm just going to pick some of you randomly. Lydia, you were on from the moment we started the exercise, so yes. So Lydia, then after that we'll get Jeb Kemei, and then Elsie and Shiro. Yes, Lydia.
This is really deep for me. Because at the point where I'm even thinking about now whether a belief is, something that is true for me or I just acquired it. And you find yourself, you've done several things in life. You've achieved several things, but you still feel like there's that emptiness. You still need to beginning to really think, I am supposed to do more according to who or for who. So it's really, I want now at least to do something for me. That brings, that I know this is me who has decided. It is not according to the community. It is not according to the church, because we've acquired our beliefs from, several cultures are very many here. There's a culture where you've been born from, And then there's a culture where you've acquired, let's say from school, your peers think this is the way. If you've not gone to this level, then you have not made it. Then now there's a culture of, belief, and also Christianity, let me say religiosity, where now if you don't behave in a certain way, if you don't behave, if you don't do things in a certain way, then you are not, you're not according to the majority. So you're not yet there. So I feel like we're running around for the world and not for us. So that's where I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lydia. That's how many of you saw the story of from cattle herder to cardiologist? How many of you? So when I was writing that story, I know exactly what's going to happen. Some people will see it, they're like, oh,
What was the question,
he's
Doc?
really showing off. But I will tell you that my real reason for sharing the story is because I'm peeling layers. And that's the reason why I'm doing this work. And it's been so painful, but I have to do it according to what my coach has told me to do. Peel the layers because I believed the day I become a cardiologist and I get that big job and buy whatever car, that there will be something that would come true. But my life had never felt emptier than when I came back to this country after burying my father and then started working as a cardiologist. And then for me to look at the previous 2 years that I was completing a cardiology fellowship while my father was sick in Kenya. And even when I came to the point of wanting to defer the fellowship, fear held me so tight that I sacrificed those 2 years that I could have been in Kenya and stay with him during those 2 final years, and I can go back to cardiology anytime. And so, Lydia, when you say what you just said, the work of return had never been as real for me as when I came back to this country in September 2024. I had been doing this work for a long time, but that started a whole new season. Environment, behavior, capability, beliefs, identity, there will never be any fulfillment that is anchored on any of those layers. The only true fulfillment is anchored in the core self. The journey of return is walking back across those layers. So your sharing, Lydia, just goes so much deeper than it may sound on the surface, where we are caught using our behavior to fit in, using our capabilities. Oh, I am an A student, or I am an amazing business student to fit in. Using our beliefs, oh, I am a Christian, I am a believer to fit in. Using our identity, oh, I am a tall man, or I'm a beautiful dude. I work out, or I have this money. We're using all these layers. There is no fulfillment. There's no fulfillment even of your assignment based on any of these layers, because each of these layers has measurement. Each of these layers has comparison. Each of these layers has competition. For as long as any of those elements are true, if somebody else could do better, could have a stronger identity, could have a bigger capability, could have a more acceptable behavior, could have a more beautiful environment, any of these layers, environment, behavior, capability, beliefs, identity, each of these layers, they are fleeting. Be still and know. And until we get to the point when we actually know, when I hear more of the truth that was wired in me at creation than what the environment tells me, I'm still running. I'm going to ask a couple more people, please just share. There's nothing to prove here. There's nothing. I will still share my story, number one, because if I can expect that I will be judged and I'm okay with it, that is going to help me give me back a bit of my voice. But my desire is to get to the very end, to the very end goal, which is to actually teach, and by my example and other people's example, that freedom does not, the peak is a lie. The peak, whatever the peak is, the peak in career, the peak in academia, the peak in beauty, the peak in strength, the peak in ownership or house or car, whatever, the peak is a lie. My real life is here, this moment, right now. Your real life is here, here, without those external voices, whatever the external voices are. My real life is here. And my real life can be beautiful and complete here. The only reason it's not complete is because of the external voices that tell me that I need to succeed in a certain way. I need to dress in a certain way. I need to speak in a certain way. I need to show up in a certain way. My children, in fact, that is the most painful thing, that my children need to show up in a certain way, and if they don't, I am going to use my position as a parent to mold them in a particular way because they are part of my environment or my behavior or my capability or my beliefs or my identity. If they don't do what I want, I will shout at them. If not, I will withdraw some kind of attention or love or provision. If I had never shared with you the power and passion behind the work of return, I think from what Lydia just shared, maybe you get to see just a little bit of the insight about why I'm at a place where if I get to the point of being instructed that I need to change environment, go somewhere else, or even disappear from this work of cardiology for a year, there will not be any second thought about it. I will do it like this because now I know. And I know it from such depth and validity that I don't know what else would take away that knowledge, that knowing from me. The rest of my life, the rest of your life boils down to now. There's no 2027 unless it becomes now. There's no March 2026 unless it becomes now. There's no Sunday unless it becomes now. And the power of now is its ability to color everything. It sneaks into everywhere you will ever be. You will never be anywhere where it is not now. You will never be anywhere where it is not now. You will always be in the now. Now, this sounds like Eastern philosophy until you actually spend time reflecting on it. We started this morning by being still now and asking the question, what is true for me now? What is true for you now? Because my life is now. Your life in its entirety is now. I can escape to the past with regret. I can escape to the past with grudges and pain and wishing I had done differently. I can escape to the future with fantasy and daydreaming and planning. Yet, my only power, the only place where my truth, my voice, my power matters is now. I will never be able to experience deep aliveness except now. I will never be able to experience deep connection except now. I will never be able to experience deep meaning or deep fulfillment except now. No matter how powerful my perspective is, or how layered my foundation is, or how solid my ownership is, it is useless if it doesn't show up now. No desire, no vision, no nothing, everything points down to here. That is why sometimes order is so difficult to sustain, because I'm trying to maintain order using a brain that keeps escaping to the past with regret and comparison and competition, or to the future with fantasy and daydreaming. Order and ownership and clarity, they all boil down to now. Desire, capacity, the most powerful capacity is the capacity to steward this moment right here. Let's spend the next 2 minutes just distill for yourself. I think we are done with the sharing, just because the sharing that has been the most powerful sharing is what came out for you on the page. But I want us to get another 2 minutes. Actually, where are we now? 4 minutes. Can you just distill for yourself what has come out for you now before we go to the chat box? And I'm going to set 4 minutes right now, starting now. Just go back to the page. Pen and paper. Just go back to the page. Based on what we have touched on today, just really coming from a moment, from an orientation of stillness. What do these insights mean to you? What does this learning mean to you? What does this moment mean to you? What do these truths that came out for you mean? Maybe just focus on one or two of the key ones that came out for you. You have 30 seconds to go. Could I please get some volunteers? And I don't want to give you any directions in terms of what to share. Just if you feel inspired to share, please go ahead. We need 2 volunteers. Be still applies to everything except volunteering. So when it comes to volunteering, you can volunteer. You don't have to be still.
I
Hey, Gladys, go ahead.
just want to say that one of the greatest revelation is the need for trust. I think for me, trust has come from beliefs and even certainty, the need for certainty around the identity and belief about trust. And because of that, I think the busyness and being busy so that you can be more trusted, which would in itself give you significance. So trust is a big thing, and therefore just being still to know that there's nothing outside that will help me to be more trustworthy or more fulfilled. It is here and now that trusting myself and trusting God for this moment is the most meaningful thing, other than what I will do and what I will have. So that's what has come out for me.
Thank you so much for that's really beautiful. And knowing the journey you've come, I think you are ready for this question. So this is a shadow question. You tell me if you're ready, and then I'll give it to you.
I'm ready.
Okay, so this is the shadow question, okay? The question would be, why am I not worthy of the trust? And this is when you allow those unspoken thoughts, which they present as fear, but there are specific thoughts in there, and you can never reverse them until they are articulated. You cannot reverse them. So those thoughts are there. Those thoughts are valid. There is an age at which those thoughts felt very true. But now they're hiding in the shadows. They have never been articulated. This is when you articulate them. Why don't I deserve to be accepted where I go? Because I am ekerentane. I was born out of wedlock. And it's until that thought became conscious and I realized that there was an age where I thought like that and it felt true. And it was embedded so deep that when I am reaching for it, it feels so uncomfortable. Because I am ekerentane. I was born out of wedlock. That is if I define myself according to where I grew up. But that is the only thing I knew to do at that age. When I am 4, 5, 6, and everybody around me calls me a Kerentane, that's what I call myself. I'm a bastard child. Why? There's no denying it. I was born out of wedlock. So what does that mean? They can treat me the way they're treating me because I am a Kerentane. So that is why this is a shadow question. It's a shadow question because it needs to articulate those thoughts that were true at an age when you did not have the perspective you have today. Today you can deny them, but there was a time when they were absolutely true and valid. And it's until you articulate them. Now, what is going to happen is one or two will show up. You dig and see what else comes up. And think of the situations where you end up, this aspect of, let's call it doubt, shows up. And think, what thought must the 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old Gladys must have had to make this emotion arise? Because the emotion is the smoke screen for the thought. And the thought may look false now, but there was an age when it was true. And at that time, it was absolutely inescapable. It was true, period. You couldn't even argue with it at that time. Now we can reframe it, but you can only reframe something that has been made explicit. Now I know this body was born out of wedlock, but this spirit was created long before the body was born. And I can separate the two. They think the body, if anything, I have more than one father. I have the biological father and I have the father who accepted me. So I have more fathers than they do. But that definition would not make sense to the 5-year-old Job, who felt the pain of being rejected, being ridiculed, being excluded, and those emotions that developed that fear pattern that kept me running were real. So that now when I find myself in a new environment and I'm reluctant to jump in, I know why. It's because Ekerentane did not die, but I cannot lead with Ekerentane. I have to create a different pathway so that I keep returning, even if the pattern keeps activating. That is the shadow question for you. Could you get another volunteer, please? Then we'll wrap it up. At the count of 3, this opportunity will be closed. 3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Isabel. Let's go, Isabel.
Thank you, Doctor. What I wrote is that I am getting awareness of myself. I'm being transformed. I'm getting awareness of the power that resides in me. I don't need any other person for me to be present. God is mysterious and He speaks in a marvelous way. I am molded to satisfy myself. Okay, and also that I need to relate differently with myself and with others. When Lydia talked about the way we are framed because of culture,
Yeah.
in the community, at the church, I ran so back before, I am a child in a family of 10, and I'm there almost down. So then I was the, the eye of the apple of the eyes of my father. Hey, I traveled a lot. I travel a lot. Now I'm still traveling, but I know that it is in the need of variety and in the layer of identity. Yeah, I'm stopping right now.
Did you say how many again?
How many what? Siblings? 10. 10.
You had a volleyball team and a referee and 2 substitutes and the team manager. We are 7 in my family, so that's why I'm using that. That's what you've shared is so powerful. But I want to point you to one thing. There's something you said. Can you read from the beginning? I will stop you once I hear what I'm trying to point you back to.
I said I'm getting awareness of myself. I'm being transformed. I'm getting awareness of the power that resides in me.
Next.
I don't need any other person for me to become or to be.
All right. So that's the one I wanted to point you towards. Okay. I want you to open yourself up to the possibility that there is the desire. The desire is to get to the point where I don't need any other person.
Mhm.
But the truth might be that I'm still operating from the patterns where I still feel like I need. Because you cannot invalidate the gap. You can only close the gap. And the gap can only be closed with truth. Now, the extent to which you might feel that you need the involvement of other people, that varies from person to person. I will tell you that that's a gap I am working on. And I sometimes get really, really surprised the areas where I think I need either the acknowledgement or approval or just a recognition of someone, of other people, whoever they are. So I'm just pointing you back to that gap. The gap cannot be confessed away, it cannot be prayed away, it cannot be wished away, it has to be closed. And that's the work of returning from this place where I feel like I need other people to the place where the voice, the primary voice, is God's voice and my voice. And then when I listen to other people's voices, I'm listening to it out of intention. It's not out of habit or pattern. Does this make sense to you, Isabel? Yeah. So the gap is real. The gap is valid. That's why we are doing this work. And we cannot invalidate the gap. We have to close the gap as we develop more capacity. And with that, we will close off this this segment. Unless you are actually really running somewhere, I want you now to spend the next several minutes and work specifically through Alkara. Awareness, learning, change. And then in terms of action, you will try and specify some specific actions. And I will share the slide so that you see it and remember the actual definitions of what each of the elements of Alkara entail. Each of those elements, willing to see myself as I am. And that's what that's one of the things we've been doing this morning. The willingness to see, the willingness to begin again. Learning here is about the willingness to begin to create a new pattern. In other words, you're beginning again. Willingness to change how I see myself and how I speak to myself. The willingness to move before you're ready. I will leave this slide projected. That brings us to the formal end of this morning's session. I will share this video whenever it's ready.